All right, everyone. Thank you for joining me this morning. Go ahead, Bethany.
Yeah, it's okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today to go over how to work a virtual fair from a recruiter's perspective. We appreciate you all joining us so much. Today, I have Tish Lewis from Easy Virtual Fair here today. She will spend a few minutes going over how to chat with students who are logged in. I will be logged in as a pretend student to respond to said chats and sort of give you an overview of how the how the system works when you're in it and actually recruiting and when the students are logged on. And then after we do that, she will give you some information on how to edit your profile. And while we're doing this, if you have any questions, please send those to me in the chat, and I will moderate those, and we can answer those one-on-one at the end. There may be some that I'm able to answer during the webinar without fixing it in front of the whole group. And so we want to make sure that you're good to go and ready to recruit tomorrow. So we appreciate you being here, and I am going to mute myself and turn it over to Tish to walk us through the system.
Okay, great. Thank you, Bethany. All right, everyone. So what you're viewing now is the Texas A&M demo site. This is a demo version of the actual fair that will be live coming up in a few days here now. And so this virtual environment is really unique in that it represents the school itself. And if you scroll down to this area here, you will notice that you have several booths that have started to populate here. And so you guys will be responsible for recruiting from your own individual booth. And so right now, or by now, you should be receiving your login information, your recruiter IDs to access the platform. Okay, and so the day that the fair is live, you will be accessing the platform with the URL that you see here. This is the only URL that you will need the day of the event to chat with the candidates. Okay, this is the only one you need, and I will go ahead and put this in the chat so that everyone has it. Okay. All right, so from what I'm understanding, the booths are being populated by the event organizer. And so you don't need to be really concerned with how to build the booth, but your primary focus is how to actually navigate the chat feature and how to chat with candidates. Okay, and so the first thing you want to do is when you're within the platform, you might notice that when you go to the page, the chat box will automatically pop up for you. So you have the option to log in here as a recruiter, or you can click the button at the top here, top right corner, to log in as a recruiter. Either one works just fine. Okay. So if I'm a recruiter and I'm recruiting from this booth here, I may have a username that looks like this here. You may also find that your username looks like this. Okay, so usernames that have usernames that looks like this, they only have access to the actual chat feature itself. Okay, and so whether your username looks like this or whether it just has a number next to it, totally fine. Go ahead and log in with your chat account and the password that was assigned to you. Okay, so the first thing you want to do once you log in is click My Profile. And you want to give yourself the name, last name, email address, information that candidates will be able to see to distinguish you from one school to another, or something other than your username is what you want them to see. Okay, and if you want to share, if you have Skype, if you want to share that information with them, you can. It's totally optional, but Skype is not a platform or a software that's integrated with our platform. It's just information that you can share with candidates to let them know, like, hey, we can meet on Skype if you'd like, outside of the platform. Okay, another thing you could do is add your photo. So this adds a personal touch to it. Again, it's optional. Go ahead and add a photo of yourself to share with candidates. Adding a photo is fairly easy. Find the photo you like to use from your computer. And what you want to do is use your fingers to either enlarge or decrease the size of the image, whether you're using a laptop. From a laptop keypad, you're just going to take two fingers and bring them together or separate them to make the image smaller or larger. Or from a mouse pad, you're just going to take the mouse pad and resize the image just by scrolling down in the center or scrolling it up. Okay, and remember, if you come back here and you notice that the name information hasn't changed, go ahead and change that again, just to make sure they have your information there correct, and hit save. Okay, so now you've added a personal touch, and when you're chatting with the candidates, they can see your picture, they can also see your name. All right, so from here, the first thing you want to do is you can either click Texas A&M Commerce Virtual Fair to go back home, or you can click the menu button and select home, and it'll take you back to the main page here. Okay, so as you'll see on the left-hand side, I'm logged in as a recruiter. It has my picture, my name, and it also here will let the candidates know which booth or which school I'm recruiting from. Okay, looks like we have a question here. So you will need to resize it, Letitia. So as I showed you then, where it says my profile, if you click the image here, although my image was larger than the space provided, you are able to resize that image and make it smaller so that it can fit the box there. Another important thing to note when adding pictures is that you want to make sure that it's a JPEG format. The platform will not accept any PNGs or any other picture file format. Will only accept JPEG, so it's very important to make sure you use a JPEG. And again, the feature does allow you to resize the image, and I'll show you that one more time. As you can see, the image is a lot larger than the box that you see here. And the goal is to get the image within the blue lines that you see here. Okay, so my image is kind of big. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my fingers to resize the image, make it smaller, or I can make it bigger. Okay. But like I said, the important thing here is to make sure it's JPEG format. Otherwise, you'll not be able to upload the image. Great. Okay. So as a recruiter, you have yourself here. You'll also notice that underneath the recruiters list is everyone else that you're recruiting with. All of your colleagues will be underneath here under recruiters. So what I'm going to do now from my cell phone, I'm going to go ahead and log in as a candidate so that you can see how candidates can interact with recruiters, how recruiters can interact with the candidates. Give me 1 second here.
Tish, I'm logged in as a visitor. If you want to click on, you should be able to see me.
Okay.
I'm logged in with my account.
Okay, let's refresh this here and see if I can get you. Okay, I'm not seeing you come up yet. I'm gonna go ahead and log in as a candidate from my phone. And the good thing about our platform is that it is accessible from tablet, cell phone, mobile device, simply because our platform does not require you to download anything. Everything is accessible through a URL. Okay, so now I'm logged in as a visitor from my phone, as you can see here. And as a recruiter, what you have to do, you have the capability to do several things here. You can be proactive and initiate with any visitor here by clicking their picture here. Okay, you can engage conversation with them. The candidate can respond back to you. As well. Okay, and what you can do is while you're chatting with the candidate, you can view their public profile while you're chatting with them. And so you can click the 3 dots here in the top right corner, click info user. It'll give you several options here. You can go back to the private chat, you can view their public profile, or you can download their resume. Okay, so again, from the conversation that you're having with the candidate, the private conversation, to view their public profile, you're gonna click the 3 dots top right corner, click info user, and select the option that works for you. Okay, so for me, as a recruiter, I want to see their public profile. I want to get to know this candidate while I'm chatting with them at the same time. Okay, and so you can engage in conversation with them that way. All right. And so other features that you can do as a recruiter, you can engage with them publicly. Okay, so if you click on the public chat here, you can see a list of candidates who have clicked into your booth and want to engage in public conversation. So here you'll notice that candidates may ask basic questions like, how many jobs are available, or, they may ask anything under the sun. But again, this is a public chat area. So you're going to have questions from multiple candidates at one time speaking to you in a public area. And what will happen is when candidates access the platform as a visitor, they'll be able to click into your booth. And from the candidate's view, they'll have a button here that says chat. They'll be able to click that button that says chat. It's automatically going to redirect them to the public chat. Okay, so that's their first point of engagement, is public chat from the actual booth. It won't take them directly into a private conversation with you. It'll bring them directly into the private chat. Okay, and so every time a candidate clicks that button, their name will show up here. Okay, it may not have any text next to it, but it's just an indicator letting you know that, hey, Tish Lewis has clicked into your public booth, and then you can initiate conversation with them or not. It's solely up to you. Okay, so what candidates may do is they may come into the public booth, they may initiate conversation, they may not. Again, this information is shared amongst candidates and also amongst the recruiters. Okay, visitors may also come to the recruiters list and click your name and start a private chat with you, as I've shown you here. Okay, and you're able to engage back with them in conversation, asking them general questions. Okay, you can even ask them to attach different documents to the actual conversation itself. So for example, if you go to Tish Lewis's profile and you see that there's no button here for download CV, that means that candidate has not uploaded their resume to their profile. Okay, and two ways to see if their resume has been uploaded: you would see the button here that says CV, okay, or you would see it here. If it's missing from either place, that's an indicator that they have not uploaded their resume. And so what you can ask them to do, one of two things. You can say, hey, please upload your resume to your profile, and they can do that themselves. Or you can go back to the private chat and ask them to add it directly to the conversation. Okay, and the way they will add it directly to the conversation is how you see it here. There's a piece of paper at the bottom right corner with the plus sign. Ask them to click that button there. This will redirect them to their to their folders on their computer, and they can go ahead and attach. They can go ahead and easily attach that resume directly to the conversation for you to download. Another cool feature about the chat is that you're able to save these conversations. So this is something important you want to keep saved on your computer for future reference. You can click the three dots here again, click export chat, and download this conversation in addition to their resume. Any questions so far on the chat feature?
No, I don't. We haven't had any questions submitted. So you can just, if you could show them how to add the chat hours so that that chat button shows up on their profile, and then sort of just briefly walk through the other parts of it, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so to add an actual chat to the booth, you have to have access to the back end. And so only specific accounts have access to the back end. And let me show you specifically what those accounts look like. All right, so what you're viewing now is what we call the front end of the platform. We're gonna go ahead into the back end, and these are credentials that only have access to the back end. The chat accounts do not have access to the back end. Okay.
Most of you that are logged into this are going to have access to the back end. So just as an FYI.
Okay, so if I log into the back end, you will have a username that looks just like this. Okay, again, this username has access to the back end, but it also has access to the chat feature itself. Okay, and to access the backend, you only need the link here. tamu_line.easyvirtualprayer.com/backend, all lowercase. Okay, and to access the demo, again, it's /demo, all caps, just to give you a point of reference. Okay. So if you log into your booth here, and the way you add a chat, this is the way you can let candidates know, like, hey, I'm available this specific time to chat with you. What you want to do is you want to click the chat button here on the left side. Okay, you're going to click add chat. You can leave a description here, chat with Tish, or chat with, or the recruiter's name, or you can say chat availability. Okay, you also want to give it a date and the specific time of when you're going to be available. Also a description. So this is just letting the candidates know, like, hey, I will be available this time only. Okay, however you want to word it is totally up to you, but you're letting the candidate know that you'll be available for a very specific time on the chat feature. Okay, hit save, and then you have the saved here, and you can add multiple times as well. Okay, and so this will just quickly, just to show you, this is very easy to add here in the back end. Again, you're going to click chat, agenda, click add chat, and what you'll notice is if we go to the front end of the booth here, we'll be able to see that button. Quick question, Bethany, is this booth currently hidden, or do we need to unhide this booth here? This is number 20.
Yeah, it's currently hidden because it's not one of the.
Okay, no problem. Do you want to go ahead and unhide that booth for me so that we can show them? Perfect.
I can type. I will absolutely do that.
So I have a question from Shelby. How many active chats can run at a time per recruiter? So you can have several active chats at one time. Candidates are not waiting in line to chat with you. And so you may have one conversation, two conversations, you may have up to 10 private conversations at a time. You just got to go from one to the next, answer the question, go to the next one, and keep it moving. You'll notice that you may also have questions in the public chat. So it's good to have more than one recruiter per booth, but if you only have one person, that's totally fine as well. You just have to be able to manage it and go from conversation to conversation. Again, you may also find candidates who are not interested in chatting at all. Some candidates, they may be busy, they may want to just come in and apply for the job directly and not use a chat feature at all. So it's really hard to tell until the day of how busy the actual chat will be. But one person may be managing up to 5 or 10 conversations at a time.
We had a question. Beth asked about how to add multiple recruiters. Beth, each booth is assigned 10 chat accounts. So the lead person will get the Texas undergrad 25 or whatever your number is. And then every recruiter that you're sending it to sign in will get the Texas undergrad _ chat 1 or chat 2 or chat 3. And you can have up to 10 of those accounts shared, and the password is all the same.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, and so if I'm a candidate here and I click into the booth that we see here, I'm able to, to see when this recruiter is available. So now this button here that says chat will appear, okay? And this chat button here, I'm sorry, not the chat button. So the chat button is where candidates can click and go directly into the public booth. Okay, you also have this button here that says written chat. This written chat button is now appearing because this is letting the candidate know when the recruiter is available to speak on the chat. Okay, and so that's how you will add that. And let me walk you through that again. Again, to add an indicator of when candidates can speak with you in the chat, you're gonna go to chat in the back end, click add chat. fill out the form that you see here, date, time, description, chat availability, if that's how you want to call it. You can add as many of those as you'd like. Go back into your booth, hit refresh, and you'll now see the button here that says written chat. Okay, and this is the candidates will be able to view. Candidates will see that on this date and time, this is when you'll be available in the chat. Any questions?
We have a question, Matthew. You can log in now to make those updates. You should already be able to log in to do that. If you're having any trouble, shoot me an email and I'm happy to help you with that. Beth, every recruiter doesn't have their own booth. If you give those chat 1, chat 2, chat 3 accounts under, they're all going to be under your organization. So, and Letitia, I got yours. I'll make sure you have the step-by-step instructions as well. And I think those are all our questions for right now.
Okay.
Sorry, Tish.
No problem. It's also important to note that if you're a recruiter, if you have multiple recruiters for one booth, your public chat is only for your booth, right? So you're not chatting publicly amongst the recruiters from other schools. You're only chatting publicly for your booth, right? So when a candidate clicks into chat, you're going to find yourself here amongst your other recruiters asking questions, responding to different, questions from the candidates here, right? And this is a good indicator here. The logo and the name was a good indicator of the booth that you're recruiting from. If you log into a wrong account, you'll be able to see the name that's here, letting you know, like, this is the booth that you're in. So you want to also just make sure that you're recruiting from the right booth. Any additional questions on how to utilize the chat feature, how to view a candidate's profile, download a profile from within the booth?
Tish, there's a question. The chats that we just set up on the back end is for all recruiters on that account, or do we need to set up individual ones per recruiter?
So it's totally up to you. You can leave one for everyone, or you can, distinguish them between each recruiter. But you want to specify that in the description or in the title when you're naming that written chat.
Lorraine, I just got your message and I will email it. Email that information to you. So, does anybody else have any questions? Okay, Tish, thank you so much. Appreciate you going over this with us. I will stay on the chat for a little while. Tish is obviously in this interesting time, very busy and has lots of virtual fairs going on. So we won't take up too much more of her time. But if you have any questions, I will be here for another half hour. If you need help getting your booth set up or anything like that, I am happy to I'm happy to help you with that via the chat. If not, we appreciate your time, and we will see you tomorrow. And just as an FYI, the career coach for the College of Education will be logged in helping the students, and I will be logged in. There's a career fair info desk. I'm there you can privately chat